The alarm blared, and chaos erupted across the ship. Sailors scrambled to their stations, boots pounding against the deck, voices shouting over the shrill sirens. Commander F. Julian Beckton stormed onto the bridge, eyes wide, scanning the radar. The enemy was playing a game, probing, turning away, then coming back again, pushing the crew to the edge of exhaustion. Ships in this position had already been hit, some destroyed entirely. Today, it was the Laffey's turn to hold the line, standing as the first warning the Japanese pilots would see on their way to Okinawa. Above, 3 divisions of F-4U Corsairs, nicknamed the Grim Reapers, circled the sky, silent guardians of the fleet. The men aboard Laffey prayed the pilots would hold the line, that they would see the enemy first. But as the first rays of morning touched the sea, Beckton felt a cold dread. Something was about to go terribly wrong. Contact with the Corsairs vanished. On the radar, the enemy formation swelled from dozens to hundreds, dots multiplying like a swarm of angry insects. Beckton's stomach dropped. "Battle stations! Main guns! Ready?" he barked. Sailors gripped their weapons, eyes fixed on the sky. 6 kamikazes peeled off from the formation, circling the Laffey, sizing up their target. The first 2 dove, engines screaming. The 5-inch guns roared to life, spitting fire into the morning sky. Flak exploded around the attackers, shredding one into a fiery ball of debris. The second plane met a storm of 40mm and 20mm shells, tearing it apart before it could reach the deck. But the terror was far from over. 2 more kamikazes approached from the stern, skimming the waves. The crew twisted the ship, guns blazing, and one plane's wing was torn off, sending it tumbling into the sea. Another charged through the smoke, but was met with a hailstorm of bullets and metal, falling like a shattered toy. Then a pair of planes attacked simultaneously from port and starboard. The starboard attacker went down, but the port plane surged forward, strafing the deck. Explosions ripped across the ship, sending shrapnel flying. Sailors ducked and dove for cover, yet somehow, the Laffey remained afloat. Battered but alive. 7 minutes felt like hours. The crew dragged the wounded, doused the fires, and checked the damage. Smoke curled across the deck, but the destroyer had not yet surrendered. Beckton's eyes searched the horizon. Where were the Grim Reapers? The sky above still teemed with enemy planes, circling like predators, waiting for the next strike. Then another kamikaze turned toward the Laffey. Beckton barked orders, turning the ship and opening fire. The Val dove aggressively, but heavy flak forced it to pull away. A cat-and-mouse game played out in the air, death dancing dangerously close to every sailor on deck. Below one of the gun turrets, a captain struggled as his barrel jammed. He had no time to fix it. With a slam of his hammer, the gun roared back to life. Above, the enemy plane's frame twisted and tore apart, crashing into the deck and spraying flaming gasoline across the ship. Sailors rushed in, dragging hoses and beating back the flames, saving both the gun and each other. For now, the Laffey had survived. Fires still smoldered, guns were damaged, and the men were battered and bloodied, but their courage had held. Yet the sky above remained alive with danger, and Beckton knew this was far from over. The Grim Reapers might return, but until then, the crew braced themselves, hearts pounding, for the next wave of death that threatened to descend upon their ship. The tension on the USS Laffey was unbearable. Every sailor on deck knew that the next wave could be their last. Smoke and flames still curled from the deck, and many of the guns were damaged or destroyed. Beckton's eyes scanned the horizon, desperate for the sight of American fighters. Then, finally, they appeared, the Grim Reapers, a flight of corsairs cutting through the morning sky like silver streaks of hope. Relief rippled across the ship, but there was no time to celebrate. The Japanese formation still circled, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The first kamikaze dove straight for the Laffey. Gunners opened fire, but fear and exhaustion slowed their aim. Beckton shouted orders, turning the ship to bring every working gun to bear. The enemy plane skidded past the bridge, narrowly missing the mast, but another followed almost immediately. Explosions tore through the deck, sending shrapnel in every direction. Sailors dove for cover as flames licked across the wood and steel. One gun captain, his hands scorched by the blast, kept firing, refusing to let the ship fall. Every second was a battle against death itself. Above them, the Grim Reapers tore into the Japanese attackers. Planes spiraled in flames, crashing into the sea one after another. The skilled American pilots made short work of the undertrained, obsolete Japanese aircraft. Yet, even with air cover, a few kamikazes pressed their attack on the Laffey, desperate to strike before they were cut down. One fighter made a final, terrifying dive toward the ship's bridge. Becton screamed orders, maneuvering the ship as gunners poured every last shell into the enemy plane. The pilot never stood a chance. The plane exploded before reaching the bridge, debris raining down harmlessly onto the deck. Amid the chaos, a sailor named Thomas B. McCarthy spotted the American flag fall from the mast. Without hesitation, he grabbed it and climbed the rigging in full view of the gunfire, replacing it so the crew could see it proudly waving again. Courage and defiance burned brighter than any explosion. Meanwhile, the Laffey's crew fought off wave after wave of attackers. For more kamikazes charged in one by one, and each was taken down just in time, some exploding mere yards from the ship. The sailors' gunnery was precise, honed by fear, desperation, and sheer determination to survive. But the Laffey was not unscathed. A bomber crashed into the stern, tearing open the hull and destroying the rudder, leaving the ship circling uncontrollably. Fires spread across the deck as shells cooked off in succession. The men fought tirelessly, dragging hoses and tossing burning debris into the sea, all while keeping what remained of their guns firing. Another kamikaze crashed into the stern, detonating its bomb. Dozens of sailors fell, but still the Laffey refused to sink. The Grim Reapers continued to sweep through the sky, cutting down the remaining Japanese aircraft. One by one, the enemy was destroyed, leaving the skies eerily empty. The Laffey, though battered and burning, remained afloat, a testament to the courage, skill, and resilience of her crew. Becton looked across the deck, seeing the exhaustion and horror on the men's faces, but also a spark of triumph. They had survived an attack that should have destroyed them, facing 22 kamikazes with only 70 guns and a fraction of air support. By the end of the assault, 33 of the 336-man crew were dead, and 70 more were wounded. The Grim Reapers claimed 33 victories in defense of the ship. Despite the destruction and chaos, the USS Laffey had survived. Becton would later recall that day as a miracle, one where courage, ingenuity, and sheer willpower kept a destroyer that should have sunk alive. Today, the USS Laffey stands as a monument to those who fought and lived through one of the most intense kamikaze attacks in history, preserved at Patriots Point Naval Museum in South Carolina, a story of endurance and bravery that refuses to be forgotten. The battle had ended, but the memory of those terrifying minutes, the smoke, the fire, and the deafening roar of engines would stay with the men forever. They had stared death in the face and survived, thanks to teamwork, heroism, and the courage to never give up, even when all seemed lost.